what are the feelings at the moment?
Disappointment. We had great opportunity to win the game, and to think that we had all those scoring shots, and I do take my hat off to the players to think that we were down 2 men so early in the game before half time, and just to keep clawing our way and keep coming. But just the missed opportunities, again, this is 2 weeks in a row now that have cost us a victory. And I think with about 10 minutes to go, the stats, our way, were really dominating. Inside 50s, possessions, shots on goal, clearances. I think were about 15 to 16 up with about 10 minutes to go, and they just, by the end of the game, it was down to 11. We just run out of fuel in that last 10 minutes. But I thought the players battled extremely hard, and their effort was unquestionable.
What about personally, your emotions?
I've had a bit of time for it to sink in. I really appreciate the supporters, that were there, and just their, just I suppose acknowledgement, which is it's really not about myself, but that was probably from a personal touch. I was pleased with that. But I suppose there's some. I suppose at the end of the game, when you are finally shaking hands with players and saying good luck, and I will sit down and write a letter to all the players. And one of my great coaches in David Parkin did that, and it was very beneficial at the end of each season, let alone at the end of a coaching stint. So I'll do that and put some thoughts in there about the way that they go about their football and some of the things that they could improve on.
What did you say to the players in the
That was sort of, we just went through about, their expectations of themselves. They need to lift that, and when it gets tough and you're running those pre-season hills or pushing the weights, or I think not just individually but collectively, we have to start pushing the expectation bar up even higher on each other. And I think they have a great opportunity, and I think there's some players that took some real big steps in their football and their development in leadership in 2012. But if there's going to be any success, it has to go to a new level or another level. And I think it's very capable, of this group to do that. But they need to make sure that it's not just young Brocky here driving it. It's the other blokes around that are taking the challenge on together, not just individually. And I think sometimes we can do that in this industry, fight the battles in silos, not as a collective group. And I think we've missed the mark a couple of times in that regard. I think they're just some of the great lessons that football has, not just in our football club, but in the competition. There's a story somewhere around the corner that someone's overcome injury or adversity in some form, and Brock is a credit to himself, because it is easy to get bitter and to blame, and that he did not do that once. And even though he was disappointed, I think the only time he showed any form of frustration was when I told you once you were out and someone kicked the ball to you and you punched it about 25 metres, and that was the only form of disappointment that he's shown, and I think that's a great credit to him.
What has thought the emotion of the day might have spilled over a bit in your players, notably in Andrew Walker's contest with Steve? It was at times a bit more of a spiteful game than we're probably used to seeing in modern footy. How did you see it?
Please, have a look at behind the goals. Reece O'Keefe got picked off the ball 30 metres away. If he wants to talk about all that stuff, I think the review panel will have a very good day at dissecting that. Please, anyway.
You thought your players handled the emotional side of it. It's been an emotional week for everyone, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, yeah. I just think, well, there's a couple of ways to take confrontation, isn't there? You back down and cower, or you meet the challenge head on. And I suppose depend on what resistance you get back is how hard you push back physically. And I don't think there was punches thrown. I think Andrew got done for wrestling, as I hear say. So the umpires will pick through that. St Kilda have had probably the wood on Carlton for a few years. This was an opportunity to maybe go into a fresh season with maybe a victory over them. And I thought, to the boys' credit, they pushed really hard to get that result done.
The fans were keen to acknowledge you. Did you think about going onto the ground to acknowledge fan support for you?
I thought they, I was really respectful for what they did at the start of the game, but I'm just a passing piece of history at our football club, now, and I really appreciate what they were trying to do, but at the end of the day, it wasn't, I didn't want to make it about me or that, because it's not. We lost the game of football, and we're here to get the 4 points, and we missed that opportunity. So I really appreciate the applause before the game, quarter time, three-quarter time, but at the end of the day, that siren was probably the curtain drawn on my coaching at Carlton for a bit of time.
What are your feelings, Brad?
Sorry?
What are your feelings?
I'm really looking forward to the next challenge. Sorry, Brocky, I'm taking
You're
over
right,
this,
mate.
mate.
Go for it. I'm happy to
No,
say that.
I'm really looking forward to a change in football terms. That I won't be at Carlton, so I don't know what is going to come of it. But I'm really looking forward to the challenge of a new environment. I went to Melbourne only for a short period. I enjoyed it there. One door closes, another one opens, and I think what we can do is sometimes sit there and dwell on it and look at what's been missed. But this could be the best thing in our, in my, me and my wife and our kids to do something a little bit different and experience things. I think it would be very naive of me to think that I was going to just lock myself into the Carlton Footy Club for 30 or 40 years. I don't think that was going to happen. So, I'm really looking forward to the next phase of our life in whatever capacity it is in football and challenges that are thrown up again.
Brock, as a playing group, did you guys speak much about, or if at all, about Rats is finishing up and playing for him, or is it something different to that?
Juddy mentioned it briefly in the speech just before he went out to position, but not much was made of it. I think there was a lot of talking about it during the week, and we were just really keen to, try and do some sort of atonement for the loss last week to the Suns. And it's disappointing we didn't get the result that we want, but you can't question the bloke's effort or the way we went about it.
When I think you kicked a goal about halfway through the last there, you were 15 up. Did you think you were just about there, or were you
Yeah, we sort of spoke amongst ourselves going back to the centre, and we were quite confident that we were going to run over the top of them, but they just kept coming, and we just seemed to run out of legs sort of in the last 5 or 10 minutes. And when we got behind, we just thought we had to do everything we could to win the game, and that's probably why we lost a few stoppages there at the end, because we were trying to get on the fly and trying to get the ball just going as forward any way we could.
Brock, can you describe Brad as a coach? Quiet, volatile, how would you?
Very passionate.
Which means I can be volatile. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, very passionate about the footy club, understands the game very, very well. He comes in, he's just got so much energy around the place, and there's so much knowledge of the game. I think that's one of his greatest strengths, that he understands the game very well, and he just passes on so much knowledge to the younger kids and even to the older blokes as well.
Brett, while before you were talking about the expectations of how the players really need to go up a level over the pre-season and everything, and several times you said we, not they, but is there always going to be a big part of you, despite what's happened in the last week, that you will always be, as Steve Kernahan has said several times, you'll always be a Carlton person?
Yeah, I will be, because of playing and coaching, but there will be a time that there will be a cut-off point, and I'll always watch with interest. There's no doubt that you'll always see how everything's going, and especially when you put so much time and effort into trying to help or build young men up in understanding them. It's not just sometimes about, can they catch and kick. It's actually about, how's their family, and how's this going, or their next part of their football career. Like, we try and make all the players have a career outside of football, and some of them have. So it's about the uni that they're doing, and not just about football, because you can put so much time into it, and the game can pass you by, and sometimes you are left with not much in your hand. And it's really important for our younger players to get down, and the I suppose, habits that we form early in their football and careers going forward are really important, and we make sure that they do have that. So I think I'll watch more because of the person. Sometimes not just about the team, it's going to be about the person and how they're playing.
Brett, you mentioned David Parkin before, and he was quite supportive of you on radio today. He was saying that this is probably the greatest assassination by media of all time. Would you agree with that sort of statement? Have you been treated a little bit unfairly across the team?
Well, it is what it is, isn't it? You just, there's some great sayings, and I've got a mate, Paul Aarons, that says one. It's not how high you fall; it's how high you bounce. It's not how far you fall; it's how high you bounce. And I think those types of things are, we can sit there and worry, and I am put in a position to lead this football club, and if it cops some criticism, well, sometimes where there's smoke, there's a bit of fire, So anyway, I live with that, and I have to make sure that my role and what I'm trying to achieve is about internally. It's not about externally, and I think that's really important, because that's one thing I have learnt as a senior coach in the 5 years, is about the outside influences. Can they influence inside your football club, and trying to control that or not even worry about it is really important in a coach's makeup, and I suppose the team and the effect that it has on the young men in there. And I'm really been forcing myself in a lot of areas that you do not look at papers. The only times I really do is just grab the subheading, and I never put my glasses on, so that means I can't read it, so that's a good thing. But if I've got a press conference, I look at the subheadings to find a bit of a feel, because you can look like a goose if they talk about that suspension or something that you haven't even really seen if you haven't been involved in that game. So that's been a big lesson for me.
A lot's been said this week about the way you've handled yourself. Is that important to you? Do you feel proud of the way you've...
I think that's sometimes a reflection of your parents, and my mum and dad. Now you are going to get me upset. My mum and dad are just bloody beauties, and they got great work ethic, and I couldn't have any better role models growing up, and they're just super people, and I thank them for so much of some of the things that they've taught me as a young kid. We didn't have a lot of financial wealth or anything like that, but their lessons that they taught me, money can't buy, and they've been absolutely beauties, and I really thank them for everything that they've done, because they used to drive me to under 14s games, sit there at under 19s games, reserves, anywhere it was. They took me everywhere, and my poor brother and sister got towed around everywhere and had to follow, so I felt sorry for them, but they've been great for me.
Have you allowed yourself any bitterness or frustration this week?
Where does that get you? Where does that side of it get you in life? I think it's a good lesson for all of us. You actually have to take responsibility for your own actions or how it goes. So, I've got some things to work on as a coach, and how I do things, and I'll be working extremely hard to get those right. No, I don't think, as we said, I've got two young boys, and at one point, if they're good enough or lucky enough to be a part of the Carlton Football Club, I would love them to be there, because it is a great club. And we do things a little bit different than other clubs, but that's a great strength of theirs.
You mentioned the writing of the letters. When you're not a coach anymore, you don't have to write those letters. It's just a matter of seeing things through the end. Why would you do that?
I think a personal thing. I think with the build-up and their focus on the game, it might be just something that I have written some letters before. I will just, and I did learn that, they're things that have become a bit more personal to the players and that too, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes going forward. It's not about that. It's more about a reflection of mine and, say, Brock's time together, and what I think would help him to become a better player. And someone else might have a completely different view, and I'm not trying to change that or interfere with that one bit. And it won't be about Brock, work on your handball and all that. It will be just a message of life and some of the things that you will confront, and just my reflection of maybe mine and their time at the football club together. Yeah.
One of the other areas of outside opinion where there's a bit of to and fro this week was whether you should coach the last game, and you were always pretty adamant that you should. What's your reflection on that now? Do you feel, what do you feel you've got out of coaching the last game? And then maybe Ross could comment on that too.
Well, what I can say is, if you were allowed to run a marathon and you stopped at the 35-kilometre mark, would you would you get through that marathon? I started it. As hard as emotionally it is, because you got family and some friends here today. But as I said, why hide? I've done nothing wrong. I don't feel I am just working as hard as I can to try and get something done. And if it's one game or it was 5 games, maybe if it was halfway through the year, I might have had a different view on it. But for one game, why throw everything into chaos and all that? We started this. It's a great time to, talk to players or just be a part of them for another week. Why not just go through the last little bit of the journey and then move on?
You do the best and fairest in all the obligations there as well?
I don't think so. I haven't been spoken about. I think that's probably, I really appreciate the supporters today, but I think, it's time to move on. That will be up to the club and I think it would be a good time for, who knows, there could be a new coach appointed by then, and what a great chance for that person to speak to the group about some of their thoughts and views going forward at the football club. So I don't think it'd be, good for me to be around in that there. I think we were looking back don't look in the rear vision mirror, just keep looking forward. So, yeah.
Greg, you keep mentioning the Carlton Football Club. Obviously, you're concerned about its future, but what about your own personal future? Have you at all in the last couple of days thought what you want to do, or has it just been focused on this weekend?
It's been focused on this weekend. We probably, my wife and I have had a few chats and that about let's have a look and see what opportunities there is, because we've got a young family and we have the ability to move or do things and things like that. I think we'll just wait and see what happens. And what I am is excited. There's a new chapter in my life and our family's life in regards to whatever's around the corner. So we'll let the dust settle and have a chat to a few and see what happens. Yep.
Was there one moment today which put you emotional, like a smile or a comment?
There's a couple. There was probably, I think it was 19 moments that had a downward smile. They might be the points. I just, when you start looking at some of the players and that, and you just see, Brock's, he's playing super footy, and then you watch a Mitch Robertson crack in. So, like the preparation that Simon White had to play this year and play, phenomenal. And he puts everything on the table, and that's what I really enjoy about some of our players and the way they play and the spirit that they play in, and that can become really infectious, across the group. And I just sort of reflect on some of those players who are not household names. Bell looked like he improved, and Reece O'Keefe. I like Reece O'Keefe as a player. I think he's a really nice mover, and his preparation. You wouldn't believe what he's had to do to even get there this season, let alone the last 4 years. He's going really well as a young man.
That all, folks?
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.